Today is Friday, July 15th, and we're taking things one day at a time here on the Outside the Oval podcast, the newest running experience on the internet. And on today's show, I will preview the NCAA Division I Northeast Regional for men and women, while also briefly diving into the men's United States distance team they're sending to Eugene for the 2022 World Championships. In addition to that, the 2022 Division III 5,000 meter champion and former John Carroll Blue Streak Jamie Dailey will join the show to discuss his championship victory this spring, his time at John Carroll, and his decision to transfer to Cincinnati to exhaust the rest of his eligibility. All that and a whole lot more on Outside the Oval today, and once again, we have one heck of a show in store for you guys. As always, I'm never going to keep you waiting. Let's jump right into it. And first, let's preview the men's distance team for the World Championship Games. In the 800, Donovan Brazier, Bryce Hoppel, Jonah Quach, and Brandon Miller will represent the United States. This team is very promising. Brazier returns to the track, having been awarded a spot based on his previous World Championship win. And then Bryce Hoppel, he returns to the world stage after the 2021 Olympics, and he's by far one of the most accomplished American 800-meter runners, and will look to leave his mark. It's about time that Hoppel takes that next step. Very excited for him to do that. And then Brandon Miller, he secured a spot thanks to Brazier qualifying via his World Championship win in years past. And it remains to be seen. This could be his last kind of hurrah before his send-off from Texas A&M, following an incredible career at College Station so far as we know. Moving on to the 1500, Johnny Gregorek, Cooper Tier, and Josh Thompson represent the United States. And in that United States Championship race, it was very much so a sit and kick. Very slow start, 49-second opening 300, whereas we had a final 400 clocked around 52-53. So very much so a sit and kick. Will this translate in the World Games? That's yet to be seen. And if this race has anything to do like a race that Centrowitz would have led, that's going to be very similar. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was a sit and kick in a few days. Josh Thompson was in the back of the field and had an incredible final 200 to qualify. Very cool to see. And then Jonathan Davis from Illinois, or formerly of Illinois, had an incredible race. It looked like he was fading, but he battled back for that final second place finish. However, didn't have that qualifying standard. So therefore, that's the team we're taking to Eugene. Very excited to see Cooper Tier finally make it on the world stage, and he's going to be representing the United States in the 1,500 meters on his home track. So Cooper Tier's a person to watch, but I'm not necessarily expecting him to podium. On to the 3,000 meter steeplechase, Hillary Bohr, Evan Yeager, and Bernard Ketter qualify. Of course, this was featured by Yeager making his much anticipated return to the track and the world stage after winning 7 straight titles from 2012 to 2018. And during his brief absence, Hillary Bohr really stepped up and took his role. He emerged as America's top steepler. He's now the first American to knock off Yeager. The future of the United States steeplechase is bright with Montana State standout Duncan Hamilton. He nearly secured a spot on the team, but he finished 4th at the United States trials. I'm sure we'll see him on the world stage very soon representing the United States for the 3K steeple. In the 5,000 meters, Grant Fisher and Woody Kincaid from Bowerman qualify along with Abdi Hamid Nur from Northern Arizona. The Bowerman boys, they did it again. I mean, are we surprised? I'm not. Whatever they're doing there is working. And Nur locked in that 3rd spot in an impressive fashion. A very, very strong race by Nur. Very good to see him make that team, having such a difficult uprising in Flagstaff. This will likely lead to Nur turning pro, which will be interesting to see where he goes. But with such a strong team coming back in Flagstaff, I wouldn't be surprised to see Nur returning. You have Drew Bosley, you have Nico Young. These guys are hungry for a title. Nur might want to come back for that one more year. Going to be interesting to see. On to the 10,000, Grant Fisher again with Joe Klecker and Sean McGorty. Another very solid team. Very excited to see how this team performs. Of course, the 10K being my favorite event, this will be the one I have my eyes on the most. This team is comprised of Fisher, who might attempt to double like Carissa Schweitzer that I mentioned in Tuesday's episode, and then Joe Klecker, who is quickly becoming one of America's favorite distance runners. And this is another American team that shows a lot of promise. They're probably a few years away from being considered favorites, especially at the podium, But considering how strong this American group has been and the talent we're really implementing on the 10K, I think this team has a chance to be contenders on the world stage in a few years. Lastly, on the marathon level, Elkanah Kebet, Colin McCall, and Galen Rupp returns to the, I don't want to say the track because this is a 26.2 mile course that I mentioned in Tuesday's episode, kind of really encapsulate what Tracktown USA is all about. Very excited to see what Galen Rupp does. Obviously, the elephant in the room. What has he been up to? Nobody knows, but that seems to be a constant from the Rupp camp, from his time in Eugene, from his time in Flagstaff under Mike Smith. We really never know what's going on with Galen Rupp, but we can expect that he's going to be a contender running in the front of the pack. But like I said, no telling what to expect from him. But regardless, it should be a good race. It's going to be fun to see what we get out of the new Galen Rupp, per se. Moving on, I'm very excited about this segment. I really enjoy doing these, and this is only my second one. Previewing the Northeast Cross Country Regional. We'll start with the women. Harvard will be entering 2022 looking to extend their winning streak at this regional to 3 after winning in 2019 and 2021. Of course, we didn't get to run it in 2020 due to the coronavirus. Harvard brings back 3 of their top returners from last year's meet, including incoming sophomore Maya Ramsden, who finished 10th at the NCAA championship in the 1500. Isabel Sager was the team's top finisher at the meet last year, finishing 5th. Although the Crimson will be looking to replace their 4 and 5 from a year ago, they have a plethora of young runners waiting to carry his team's legacy moving forward, and they should be considered the favorites, I believe, entering the fall. This regional, especially on the girls' side, is always very entertaining to look at, though. Syracuse is always a force to be reckoned with and look to improve on their runner-up finish from this past season. They include the regional champion from last year, Amanda Vestry, but like Harvard, have several young runners eager to make a name for themselves. And it really would be foolish to think that Coach Fox does not have a team ready to compete for a regional title in 2022. Connecticut is a team I have my eye on this season. That might come as a surprise as they do graduate one of their 3 stifling top 30 runners who really did a good job pack running at multiple meets last year. But they have a top 2 made up of Melissa Zamati and Chloe Thomas, who will be in the front of the pack and really challenge to win. Along with the 4 other returners from a year before, I like the youth they bring back, and this could be a team who could make some noise in November and really sneak into the national championship meet in Stillwater. Providence, another team, very interesting case as well. They lose their top runner from a year ago, but their 2 and 3 were just freshmen last year, and they'll return with more experience and speed, which will fly under the radar heading into the regional. Like Connecticut, Providence returns 6 of their 7 runners from last year's regional team with a solid crop of recruits coming to campus this year. The Friars are another team to keep an eye on. A few top regional individuals to watch. Phoebe Anderson from Columbia, 20th at the East Prelims in the 5K, second highest returner as well from the last year. 16:10 in the 5K, 9:17 in the 3K. A lot to like from this Columbia native. Like I mentioned, Isabel Sager from Harvard. She's a top returner from last year, 22nd at the East Prelims in the 10K, and went 34.08 at the Riley Relays this past track season. Sager is a favorite to win the regional in 2022, but will certainly face a lot of competition. Next, Laura Mooney from Providence is probably my favorite runner in this regional. She is the 3rd fastest returner from last year's meet and ran a 33.23 in the 10K on the track this season, along with an impressive 16.09 in the 5K. Mooney will be a big name to watch this season as she's the Friars' top runner, and she'll be a critical part of her team's score this year, and really will dictate whether or not this team contends for an automatic qualifier or an at-large bid. Along with them, there are several returning freshmen to watch who should carry this regional moving forward. That includes Fiona McLaughlin from Stony Brook, Ramsden, who I mentioned earlier, from Harvard, Fluckart from Providence, another key member of that team, and Chloe Thomas from UConn. Some sleepers I like. This one's really down in there. Savannah Rorick from Syracuse. She was a freshman last year, finished 18th in the ACC 5K this past season on the track. She ran a 16:31 as a true freshman, which is not too shabby at all. Rorick lacks the experience most of these runners have ahead of their debut or race this season, but she has plenty of speed. She went 9:37 in the 3K, comfortably ran a sub-5 in the mile in her lone appearance in the two events. And after running a couple of cross races this year, Rorick could have an outside shot of finishing inside the top 10 at this regional meet, and that really could give her a shot to individually qualify for Stillwater. However, being on that orange team, it's probably a safe bet. She'll get that extra race, which is very vital for a young runner's development. With that being said, my pick in this regional is going to be Harvard and Syracuse. They're very safe picks to go 1 and 2. But Providence and UConn are not far away and could easily make an interesting race, and they should be in an at-large conversation by the regional meet. I'll be bold and pick Laura Mooney from Providence to take the win this year. That's not going to be a popular pick at all, but that's what I'm going to go with now on July 15th. I think she's in best position to capitalize off her very impressive track season. I think she'll surpass the two favorites ahead of her. And I would imagine there will be a few spots available for runners like McLaughlin from Stony Brook and Anna Oser from Boston College, who was another top runner in this regional last year. And onto the men's side, though, real quickly, Syracuse, without a doubt, the team to beat. But they'll be forced to replace their top 3 runners from a year ago. I love this. Ohio native and incoming junior Matthew Scrape will be thrusted into a key role for the Orange in 2022 after finishing 13th the year before. Harvard is best set up to knock off Syracuse, though, and they're probably my favorites to dethrone the Orange. The Crimson do return Graham Blanks, who finished 2nd last year, as well as Acer Iverson, who has finished 5th in this meet as well. Harvard will only have to replace 2 of their top 7, which is always nice for a young team to maintain their veteran leadership. And that's much less of a daunting task than Syracuse, who I mentioned lose their top 3 runners. Iona and Providence are the 2 other teams from this region with national aspirations, as they usually do. Iona graduates their top 2 from a year ago as well, but they'll replace them with another powerful top 7, as they always do. Iona is always contending for a championship, and although they'll probably not be a threat to make it out to Stillwater, they are far and away the favorites to win the Metro Atlantic Conference this season. Providence is another interesting case. They lose their 2nd, 6th, and 7th finisher from a year ago, but return the 4 most capable athletes that could possibly be replacing these runners and competing for an at-large bid in the fall. If the Friars do find a reliable replacement, this team looks like the most capable to contend for an All-MAC bid and really challenge the 2 powerhouses in this regional. Some individuals I am watching, Graham Blanks, obviously from Harvard. He's got to be the favorite entering 2022. He's coming off an impressive runner-up performance as a freshman last year, and he finished 20th in the East Preliminary on the track in the 5K. Blanks will be a contender to finish with All-American honors this season, and I'm really looking forward to see what he can do alongside Acer Iverson, who's another one to watch. Yeah, he could really be the key to this Harvard team, maybe being a top 10 team at the end of the year and maybe going top 15 at nationals. Really creating that potent 1 and 2 with Graham Blanks will go a long way for this Crimson team. And then lastly, Marcelo Rocha from Providence. He's got to be another favorite. And honestly, like Laura Mooney, another teammate, he's really fun to watch. He's coming off a solid track season running a 13:42, and Rocha is more than capable of stealing this Northeast Regional from one of the 2 top Harvard runners. Some sleepers, Tyler Berg from Columbia is really flying under the radar this year. He went 28:55 into 10K this year, and he's the 5th top returner from last season. Although the 3 favorites are ahead of where Berg is entering this season, he's definitely coming in with a point to prove and will be itching to make it out to Stillwater for one last season. My dark horse, Evan Brennan from Stony Brook, really excited about him. When I really dug in and saw what he was about, got really excited about him. I think he's going to have a very solid year, similar to my pick from Minnesota in the Midwest region. After an 18th place finish a year ago, Brennan is certainly on the outside looking in for a spot to race at Stillwater this November, but his impressive track season leads me to believe he could very well sneak into a top 5 spot at this regional meet. With a 28:59 10K and a 14:06 5K, Brennan will have a great opportunity to capitalize on his 3rd cross-country season. I look for him to compete for a spot at Nationals in the fall. My pick's got to be Harvard. I think they're going to capture another title, continue this team's legacy in the Northeast Regional. Syracuse, I believe, will narrowly escape Providence's bid to finish second. And then Graham Blake's, I think he's going to run away from Acer Iverson and Marcelo Rocha to win this regional and give Georgia some representation in the national championship meet. As I conclude the Northeast Regional preview, I'm very much looking forward to you hearing my interview with Jamie Dailey, who really dives into his career at John Carroll. Like I mentioned, his decision to join Cincinnati this year to exhaust the rest of his eligibility, and his 5K national championship on the track this spring. A lot of great stories. He's a great guy. You're really going to enjoy it. And without further ado, I present to you my interview with 2022 D3 5,000 meter champion, Jamie Dailey. Joining me today on Outside the Oval is the 2022 Division III 5K champion and former John Carroll Blue Streak, Jamie Dailey. Jamie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so let's go back real quick. You spent 4 years of high school at Bay, which is an incredibly accomplished D2 school, always very competitive, and they always seem to be competing for a state championship. And then having been surrounded by such a great running atmosphere, it really helps grow your love for the sport. When did it really all come together for you, and how do you feel like your high school career started to take off?
Yeah, so my freshman year of cross country, I was nowhere near varsity. I was kind of borderline, but I wasn't where I wanted to be my freshman year. I was about like 18 flat, 18:30 in cross country my freshman year of cross, and then I transitioned to track and I got injured my freshman year. And then sophomore year was kind of a building phase where, I was starting to get used to the sport, but I also really wasn't reaching my goals. I made varsity my sophomore year, so I was like our fourth, fifth guy on the team. So I was contributing, but I wasn't where I wanted to be at the end of the season. So I dropped a minute off my PR. I was like 17:30, 17 flat, and then my track and field season that year, didn't go as the way I planned. I wasn't making any big jumps in track. I wasn't really fully focused in on the sport that much. Cross country was just the main sport I wanted to do throughout high school, to be honest with you. And then once I got into junior and senior year, I was starting to become fully invested in cross country, and I dropped 2 minutes off my PR junior year, and then I ran 15:48 my senior year of high school at my conference meet where I won. And then track and field, I continued to get banged up, and I wasn't contributing as much in track and field. So just to sum things up for my high school career, I was a cross country runner, not cross country and track. So I was not fully healthy at all during those past 4 years of track. But cross country, I seemed to find my stride. I became all-state in high school, and I was an all-region runner. I was district runner-up, regional runner-up, and then I was top 10 in the state. So I was very happy with that year of cross country for sure. I was riding that wave of excitement heading into track. I wasn't running that much in the winter, and then I immediately jumped in and had a stress fracture in my foot. And that put me out for the rest of the year. So it wasn't what I planned for the track and field seasons, but cross country, it turned out well for me, I'd say.
Yeah, you had an incredible senior season. You ended up winning the Great Lakes Conference Championship, like you mentioned. Went under 16 minutes in the 5K, which is incredibly good for Division II, especially. Finished 8th at the Cross Country State Championship your senior year. Very good accomplishments. Would have been awesome to see what you did on the track. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, didn't happen. But having closed your cross country senior year so strongly, how did the recruiting process go for you coming out of high school, and what really drew you to John Carroll?
So, I think a lot of kids that come out of high school, think D1 bust, right? Or they think of, if I'm not committed to a big school, if I'm not being fully invested in an NCAA Division I school, I'm not going to run at all. That's what their first mindset is when they usually come into the college search for running. So I was leaning towards some Division I schools. I was leaning towards some D2 schools. I was leaning towards some D3 schools, and so I was an open book coming out of high school. So what really drew me to John Carroll was, it wasn't the wasn't just the athletics. It was more so the campus, the community, the involvement, everything John Carroll had to offer. I was fully invested into it. The minute I stepped onto their campus, I was blown away with the tradition that they had there, what they had going, everything that they had to offer to me, both academically and athletically. I kind of culminated into one picture and just decided to say, you know what, Division III, it's maybe not the expectation that many people think or what they've had for me personally, but I thought it was a great way for me to get more opportunities, have a great way to access professors, meet with many other colleagues who had the same passion as I did for sports, and that ended up being my major, sports studies. So yeah, I think the small campus vibe fit me, I'd say personally and athletically, just because, me personally, I would just get stressed at a big school. I'd be rummaging around trying to find where my classes were, and I'd be stressed out of my mind. So I think the small campus vibe definitely helped me in the long run, just because I wanted to be able to easily develop relationships with my professors and have easy access to many other resources around campus. So it was more so of a academic and where I wanted to be as a student more so than an athlete. And then once Kyle Basista came and recruited me, I was just fully invested 100% in what he had built in there. So it was definitely a special opportunity to compete for the Blue Streaks coming in, and I'm very fortunate that John Carroll came knocking.
Yeah, it's very important to focus on the academic pursuits as well as the athletic. Great that you found a spot. Definitely worked out for you in the long run. And then,
Yeah.
Of course, going from the high school level to the college level, it's no joke. Adjusting to college life is extremely difficult. There's so much more to life than just school and running, even though we just spent the past minute kind of talking about that being the two main factors. How were you able to adjust, and how did that affect your running performance your freshman year?
Yeah, so I kind of reflect on an alumni focus I did on Ohio Mile Split my sophomore year. I didn't really change who I was as a runner to transition into college. I was still learning throughout the process and what I wanted to become as a runner, and I kind of just thought about what I've been doing the past 4 years in cross country. Obviously, there were some changes I had to make in track and field, and how I can make those transitions from training in the off season to how I can become as a better athlete. So I'd say I definitely took a lot more valuable lessons into becoming more of a balanced runner, I'd say. So I think, in high school we didn't do much stretching. Our coach was not at all in on stretching before and after races. So I did some improvements in pre-run and post-run routine stuff. I got stronger as the years went by. I got in the weight room a lot more, and I wasn't doing much cross training during high school. So I finally was able to enable, much more cross training, much more stuff rather than just running. So I was introduced to the pool. I was introduced to biking a lot more. And I did sustain some more injuries in college. I had a stress fracture my sophomore year that put me down a lot. And this past cross country season, I had a cyst in my leg in my right thigh. So obviously some of those challenges continued in college, but there was definitely some things I improved upon as a runner. And I feel like more and more runners, as time goes by, they'll definitely acknowledge that moving forward in their process as well.
Oh, for sure. The transition from your senior year of high school to your freshman year of college is extremely difficult. A lot to learn, but it teaches you very good lessons. So as you progress through your career, things really started to take off for you your junior year. You ended up finishing 7th at the Great Lakes Regionals in cross country your junior year. You got the first taste of D3 Nationals as well. And that's really when you started to make a name for yourself. You earned All-American honors that year in the 10K. What did you do differently your junior year that really aided you in making that jump from a very good runner to being one of the best?
Yeah, so I think coming off that my 2019 season, my junior year, we had a lot of great pieces coming in for our team. We were starting to become, a well-balanced team. We brought in Alex Phillip from Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, who brought in a lot to our program. As some of the pieces and some of the pieces started to, become fulfilled, we started to become a great team. And I think the biggest thing that we took away from that was, making the national meet, and that was the biggest goal for us. And our first time being at the national meet, it wasn't what we expected. We didn't really exceed expectations, but some of what we took away from it, is just to being a part of the experience. Running for each other, and I think the biggest thing also was to make a name for ourselves and make some more history as time goes by. That was the first time we made the national meet. That was the first time we got a top 4 finish at the regional meet, and we got second at the conference meet. So we made some big jumps on our resumes, and I think the biggest thing, or the biggest jump that comes to my mind, the COVID-19 pandemic obviously came into our lives. We didn't have much going for our team. There wasn't many valuable resources that were out there for us. Indoor ended up being canceled last minute. We had some athletes down there for the national meet, for the indoor meet, and it ended up being canceled the next day, which was tough. Our outdoor meet got canceled, and our cross country season of 2020, my supposed to be senior year, got canceled. So we all sat down as a team, and we all said, hey, this is a perfect opportunity for us to get better, maybe when some teams aren't getting better. And we trained hard. It was like being a professional runner. We wake up, do our due diligence, and then go out and run and go do a lift and come back and just hang out with the guys. It wasn't much of a big schedule for us. We were just running the whole time, and we looked out for each other. We hung out with each other a lot, and we grew bonds. And maybe there are some teams out there who weren't really doing that. Maybe they were just reflecting a lot upon their canceled seasons, and they were very upset about it. We were too, but we took the opportunity and advantage of the time to, grow those bonds, run with each other, work out, and put in some great work in the off season once the time came around to finally compete. And so the NCAA ended up giving us that indoor season of 2021 when we came back, and it was like a breath of fresh air. The weight was lifted off of our shoulders. We were finally able to compete. We were able to finally see each other, go to class with a mask on. It was honestly better than nothing. I feel like every one of us were sick and tired of being online classes for 3 semesters. So, we definitely didn't take it for granted. I think we only had like 3 people who got COVID that year. So, we didn't waste the opportunity. We got our experience going again. We got our competitive juices flowing at the right time, and so we only had a conference meet that year. That was our championship race. They canceled our national meet, and then we finally had a national meet that outdoor season. So I think the biggest thing for me in earning that All-American honor that senior year was not wasting the opportunity, not taking any of those seasons for granted. I think I had a feeling that cross-country canceled season that I was going to come back for a 5th year, but then as time goes by, I wanted to fully come back and get some unfinished business for John Carroll, and that All-American accolade was definitely a step in the right direction, and something that I'll never take for granted for sure. And I'm sure Alex will agree with me as well when he earned some of those All-American accolades as well, coming off that cross-country season he had in 2019. And both of us, I think that's when we started to hit our stride finally.
Yeah, for sure. As you continued to rise in stardom, not only did you end up qualifying for D3 Nationals in cross country and then also earning the All-American honors, you also ended up earning All-American honors that next indoor season in your final year in the 3K and 5K. Then you also went head-to-head with your teammate in the 10K this year, finishing as the national runner-up in the 10K. And then coming back the next day and obviously winning a national championship in the 5,000 What was that entire experience like? That senior track season really seemed to be special for you John Carroll boys. And how do you feel like your entire last year at John Carroll went?
Yeah, to culminate into that one final year of John Carroll, it was truly special, remarkable. Coming off a cross-country season where we podiumed as a team, we got 4th place. Alex won nationals. He was a first-time national champion in cross-country. I was coming off a little bit of an injury, like I said before, so I managed to get top 20 and get some points for our team to get that 4th place finish. And obviously, we also had guys. We had 2 freshmen on our varsity squad who contributed a lot: Ryan Champa and Barrett Chetzley, and then Andrew Miner breaking out of his own shell. I mean, he was a huge contributor to us and someone who grew a lot as a runner. And then Ian Pearson and Jared Arnold were our final 2. So I think, coming out as 4th place as a team in cross country, we wanted to push that boundary a little bit. We wanted to get more guys to the national meet and get that experience like they've wanted. And I think what Kyle does a great job at as a coach is, bringing some of these guys to the national meet to get some experience. Maybe they're not racing on the Foley team, but, it gives them an opportunity to, be what it's like to be in a national championship environment. Ethan Dimitrovich was one of our alternates at the cross country race, and then Cormac Pepper Kramer. Look what happened to those guys. They became All-Americans in the steeple in the spring. So I think that's definitely the one thing that Kyle does a great job at. And then now transitioning to indoor, like I said, we wanted to get more guys to the national meet and experience that a lot more. And after finishing 7th and 8th in the 5K and the 3K, I kind of reflected upon that a lot. And I was thinking, I definitely can contribute a lot more to this team. It being my final outdoor season and it being my final season as a NCAA Division III athlete, I definitely wanted to come in and contribute a lot more to our program and continue to get to that level that I wanted to be at. We came off a 6th place finish in indoor, and I remember getting an email from Kyle, I think that week after, when we were somewhat transitioning into the outdoor season. He was telling us, like, if you guys want a podium at the outdoor national meet, this is what you have to do. So he gave us a list, and I guess definitely more guys bought in as time rolled on, the weeks went on, and guys started to earn more all-conference accolades, all-region, and then we got more and more guys to the national meet, and it ended up turning out well for us, getting a 2nd place finish as a team. So I'm more so a team guy. I don't really like to brag about myself and what I bring to the table as a runner for me personally, but it was the cherry on top, getting that 2nd place team finish. It's definitely what we wanted. It's definitely something that we look back upon and a great year of running, I'd say. And doing it at Spire at Geneva, Ohio, where we were only 45 minutes away, it was definitely something that we cherished and something that we'll look back upon forever. Having a huge fan base there, we had some teammates that didn't make to the national meet that came and supported us. We had alumni, we had parents, we had everyone who showed up to the national meet, and I'd say we had most of the fan base there, and it was definitely a special opportunity to compete against them or in front of them, and at the end of the day, that's what you want, to compete at the national meet and to have everyone supporting and cheering you on, and it's definitely a great feeling to be able to witness that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys had a fantastic, especially your last season there at John Carroll, put together a phenomenal cross-country indoor track and outdoor track campaign, which is really indicative to the program that you guys have built at John Carroll. So I give you props for that.
Thank you.
As you mentioned before, Alex Phillip was a huge part of your running career. He came in from Akron St. Mary's, being pretty successful in an Ohio high school as a senior as well. He had a lot of defining moments as a Blues Strike as well. What was it like having a training partner like Alex to train with day in and day out, and how did it help pave your career?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to explain with him. I mean, he's definitely he's definitely a guy that pushed my limit a lot. He's the type of guy that, he's pretty laid back with running, I'd say. He goes into competitions, thinking, he envisions the race, but not every single moment of the race. He envisions what the race is going to be like. I think that's what he does a great job at. He studies the sport. He takes care of what needs to be done. He's everything you want as a runner. Very valuable, what he brings to the sport. He wants to win. He's very competitive. And there are times where if there's something he doesn't get, if there's something he, doesn't need, or if there's something he doesn't achieve in that process, he'll get upset about it, but then he'll move on to the next opportunity. So, Alex has definitely been that teammate for me moving forward. He's definitely a person that wanted the best out of me, wanted the best as a person and as an athlete. As he started to win more and more national titles, once he got those 2 national titles indoor, he wanted the best. Not to say he wanted the best out of me as a teammate, before that, but him and I had a conversation about, me becoming a national champion and me fulfilling that opportunity to achieve what was there. And he was definitely the training partner you always want. Someone there that's by your side all the time, someone that's able to push you when you don't think you can, someone there to believe in you when you might not even believe in yourself. So it's definitely those things that keep you motivated as an athlete. The grind never stops with him. He's dedicated to the sport of running ever since he got introduced to it in high school, and he's definitely the type of guy you want to bring in as an athlete on your. And luckily, he was on my side, and it's a great opportunity to have him on our team for sure.
Yeah, Alex had a phenomenal career as well. Very nice that you got to train with him, and obviously made you a better runner. Whenever you can go out there every day and know you have a consistent training partner, it just makes you feel confident in what you're doing. But now your career at John Carroll is over, unfortunately. But every ending brings a new opening. So you're transferring to finish your degree at the University of Cincinnati. How did you come to that decision, and were there any other schools that you considered?
Yeah, so the University of Cincinnati came into picture, way before I was into collegiate distance running. Both of my siblings went there. My brother, he currently works for GE Aviation downtown, so he was a student at the University of Cincinnati, majoring in engineering. And then my sister, who currently attends the University of Cincinnati, she is studying architecture. So I think the biggest thing was, them drawing me to the campus. They love Cincinnati through it all. They love the campus life. They love the athletics. They love everything about Cincinnati ever since they started going there. So I'd say one of those biggest factors were my siblings, for sure. And some of the guys that they have currently on that team made me drawn to the program. They've had a couple guys who recently are now one's at Oregon and then one's running professionally. I kind of wanted to step into that role and see where I can fit myself into that at the Division I level. So I think everything from what I've learned at Division III, I can somehow transition into Division I. I want to know what that process is like. I want to know how I can transition myself from that type of small campus 5 athlete to a bigger campus Division I role. And last but not least, the academics. I mean, the sports administration program masters that they have there is truly remarkable. The classes that they have to offer, were some of the same courses I was taking at John Carroll. So it's another easy transition that I will definitely embark upon. So there's a lot of factors that made me choose Cincinnati, and some of the guys definitely, channeled their marketing and what I wanted to why I wanted to choose Cincinnati was to compete for the Bearcats. And before I even, got into distance running fully, I was at my brother's orientation, when he was going into school, and I was only a itty bitty sophomore, junior in high school. I was kind of thinking to myself, walking around the campus, like, wow, it'd be a huge dream to compete for the University of Cincinnati. Not just running, but like being an athlete, like being a Division I athlete. Like that's just a dream to have, I feel like. So, and has now come full circle, and now I'm starting to realize that like being a Division I athlete is going to be a cool opportunity for me to, expand upon my valuable lessons that I learned at John Carroll, and will help me become the runner that I am today more and more so as I continue to learn. So as far as some of the schools I was choosing, definitely a lot of schools reached out to me. I have no cross country eligibility, so I'll just be a track and field athlete for indoor and outdoor. So some schools reached out, and helped me both academically and athletically. So I think some of those schools I like to point out: George Mason, school out in Virginia, Stony Brook reached out. And Division II, so Grand Valley also reached out as well. So I had a little bit of everything as well come into the picture. So, but I think more so external factors outside of running made me choose the University of Cincinnati, and I'm very proud. I get to represent the Bearcats in late November and beginning of December.
Yeah, that's incredibly exciting. We're looking forward to seeing how you do, and I'm sure you do very well. And you more than deserve those opportunities after the successful career you had at John Carroll. Not surprised to hear schools like Cincinnati, Stony Brook, and Grand Valley State came flocking towards you. So congrats for that, and we're looking forward to see how you do. And like we mentioned earlier, Cincinnati has a very solid, quickly growing team. There was a lot of youth there. They're very hungry to get faster and compete for championships down there in Southern Ohio. You also mentioned they had a runner at Oregon this year who competed at the 10K and 5K national championships. He's ultimately going to go pro in Germany. And then another one who runs for the Brooks Beast, Alex Sandusky, another very successful runner from the University of Cincinnati. So what do you hope to accomplish in your final season at Cincinnati on a team and individual level?
I mean, there's a lot of things that come to mind. I definitely want to be someone who's a leader for their program, someone who's willing to put in the work, someone who's willing to get to know everybody, work with everyone easily, and help them to achieve more and more. They've achieved a lot in the past, and they've gotten some all-conference runners. They got some guys who scored points in major events. I want to be one of those guys, and get the most out of their last year in the American Athletic Conference. They're moving to the Big 12 next year, and unfortunately I'm going to miss that. So I want to do whatever I can to contribute, both as a runner and as a person. That's my ultimate goal, to be the ultimate student athlete I can be for every program I come into. That's the ultimate goal that I have for myself and to others. Overall, I'm just excited to work with them and be on a new team. I think the other reason why I chose the University of Cincinnati was the coaching staff too. The coach that they have currently on the distance side, he has a lot of experience with running. He's coached professionals. He coached at Tulsa, who's a great program, and they've been top 10 in the country in Division I. He's coached a lot of athletes who are now starting to get to that professional level. So I think being a part of that would be something special, and not only for the University of Cincinnati's team, but for me personally. I've dreamt about being a professional runner. It has come to mind a little bit, but I'm not sure yet. The commitment is not there just yet. I'm fully focused on Cincinnati, but I'm fully invested on what they have to offer there, and it'll be interesting too, because the training is somewhat different in some way as it was at John Carroll. So I think getting to prioritize my training at a Division I level will allow me to get a better routine going, be more organized. That's the one thing that's helped me in the past, and the number one skill is being organized. And having a steady routine throughout my time as a runner and as a runner and as a student. So I think carrying in those skills will help me along the way, and overall, I'm just excited to get to work with those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very exciting to be able to move into a very competitive D1 program, compete right away, and wishing you all the luck. Before we go, I mentioned this to you before the show. Just want to hear your picks for this year. Who you taking in the individual and team battles at the cross-country national championships?
Division I. So I got to go with NAU as a team. I don't think they're getting rid of much. I mean, I think Nur's gone. Is Nur gone? Okay.
So as far as I know, Nur's not going pro, but because he did make the World Championships lineup, would not be surprised if he did leave.
So I think I have to go with NAU just because they're not losing a lot of pieces. And as far as individual goes, this is where it gets tough. I know a lot of people are graduating or moving on to the professional level.
It's kind of wide open this year.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to lean towards Dylan Jacobs. I think, coming off that 10K title, I think he's out for blood more. So I think he'll become a great cross country athlete for Tennessee. So I'm gonna go with Dylan Jacobs.
Oh yeah. For sure. That's a good pick. Moving into a new program, University of Tennessee. Coach Carlson just moving to Tennessee as well. I'm sure they got a lot to prove, a lot of kind of chip on their shoulder moving into a program that hasn't won recently, but definitely going to be competitive. And then NAU, if they do return Nur, will also have Nico Yun and Drew Bosley, and I'm sure they'll have a war chest of 4, 5, 6, and 7s to go about the year. So 2 very good picks. Thank you for your time, Jamie, and I hope you had a good time on the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on. It was an awesome experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you guys next time on Outside the Oval.